All right, today, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is set to hit the campaign trail with Bernie Sanders in Nevada to officially endorse the Democratic Socialist for president. So while de Blasio is out in Nevada, we are taking a look at his week of failures here at home in the Big Apple. Our guest, New York City GOP Councilman Joe Borelli, joins us now. Joe, so we've got the endorsement. We've got a lot going on with the MTA removing the back of benches. We've got apparently an MTA board member being driven in a chauffeur, even though she lives right next to the train. What's going on?
Well, I mean, start with the endorsement, right? This shouldn't come as a surprise. These two are kindred spirits. They both vacationed and honeymooned in socialist countries. But whatever short-term benefit Bernie thinks he can get in Nevada from Bill de Blasio, I think it's going to be offset by the fact that this is someone who polled between 0 and 1% nationally, depending on the poll that was asked. This is a guy who's not doing a great job as mayor. And if you're Bernie Sanders and your biggest selling point is that socialist far-left government is going to work for our people, I don't know if Bill de Blasio is the right poster boy for you. Besides, where else are they going to send Bill de Blasio after Nevada? He can't go to Florida. He can't go to the Carolinas. This is where all New Yorkers have fled people like him.
Joe, it seems like he should be here. Now, listen, I want to mention this because our viewers may not know. Here in New York City, the MTA removing the back of benches at subway stations in an effort to stop homeless people and commuters from sleeping on them. How's that working out?
Look, this is Bill de Blasio's responsibility. He took office saying he was going to tackle the problem. Now we have the policy equivalent of putting the little spike strips down so the pigeons can't go up in your roof. I mean, this is the failure of building adequate homeless shelters. This is the failure of building adequate long-term housing for people. And this is the failure for people getting out of the homeless shelters into long-term housing. Bill de Blasio should come back and focus on being Mayor Bill de Blasio and not failed potential President Bill de Blasio.
This one's my favorite. This is Lorraine Cortez Vasquez. She is an MTA board member, and she lives near the train, the subway, but yet she's driven by a city-funded chauffeur.
Look, we allow the mayor to make appointments to the MTA board so that the city transit riders feel they have someone fighting for them, somebody in it with them. This lady doesn't seem to be one of them. She might be a nice lady, but I tell you, it's the type of progressive elitism, like Elizabeth Warren flying on a private jet and lecturing us about climate change. This is the type of thing that drives people absolutely mad.
Lastly, I want to get to, we talked a little earlier in our show, and that is bail reform. Sure. So your Democrat-controlled legislature passed this bail reform, which essentially says you can't have cash bail anymore. So people just go free. There's one individual in particular who's been arrested over 160 times for jumping the turnstiles and robbing money. What's going on with this bail reform?
That guy came out of jail and said, bail reform is lit, everyone. This is great. These are people laughing at us. And the people of this state should have the same right as the people in California to put this idea, bail reform, on the ballot in 2020. California groups got more than 500,000 signatures in 70 days to put it on the ballot. Unfortunately, in New York, we need the legislature to actually put it on the ballot. Right. But they should give us the option. If this is so great,
but you're
sell
taking
it to
action,
us.
actually. You're taking action on this today.
We're trying. We're trying to push the legislature to put this on the ballot. If this is so great, as the advocates, the bail reform advocates, the pro-criminal advocates tell us, sell it to the American public, sell it to the New York public, really, and let us decide whether we'd rather have criminals getting out of jail or whether we'd rather have criminals in jail.
Okay, so the argument is that this bail reform was needed because less wealthy people were spending more time in jail. That's AOC makes that argument. But you are now doing what? What action are you taking?
Well, we're trying to repeal the law. I mean, unfortunately, this state did bail reform worse than other states. If you want to end cash bail, that might be fine, but replace it with a reasonable dangerousness standard. That's something Emily was talking about earlier, I heard. If you replace it with dangerousness and give judges discretion to remand people and not have them out on the streets, you won't have people like this guy thumbing their nose at us, getting right back out on the streets, right back out on the subway, and committing the crimes that upset our quality of life and put our communities in danger.
So what do you say to AOC? Because she's saying, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. Let's give it some time.
Look, sometimes I'm not sure if AOC is on this planet, but I wish she spent more time in New York seeing how bail reform is failing the people. We have had dozens, and if not hundreds of cases since January 1st when this went into effect, of people who have gotten out of jail, people who have been recidivist criminals, people who have committed heinous crimes from arson to robbery to bank robbery to heists. And we're just letting these people go without any consideration whether they have a future threat to the public. This is a problem for me, and I suspect this is a problem for the majority of New Yorkers, and that's why I want it on the ballot.
Last question quickly. You've written a letter to the leaders of the Democrat-controlled legislature to put it on the ballot. Do you predict it'll happen?
Look, it's tough. I mean, these are people who don't want to let the public decide because they know the public is with us, people like me, and in fairness, a lot of moderate Democratic district attorneys who are saying even that this is beyond what any responsible reform would have done.
Councilman Joe Borelli, thanks for being here.
Thank
we look
you.
forward to following this, and come back here and let us know if they respond to you. Thank you, sir.